while we're connected here, put the guitar in a position to be played. Beautiful. But don't start thinking about that. Stay with me. Don't get ready to play it. Just put it in a position. Now you put the left arm back down your left. Right? Feel that separation? It's important to separate often. Because eventually, you want there to be no difference when you're touching the instrument or when you separate. And you are. Now you're in that space. Let the arms come up poised to play. But stay with me. They can move by themselves. They don't need your control. Right? And the other hand. Stay here. Now go back to your breathing. Because that distracted you. Just focus on your breathing. Take the responsibility off your shoulders. Your hands are just standing there. Go back to your breathing. Do one of these. Big one. Yeah, you feel the difference? That's you in balance. Your arms are doing something else. Play a note. Don't think of the note. Breathe again. See, now by breathing again, you're moving on. You're not getting stuck on that note. Pick another note. Don't play it, just pick another note. Good. Did you feel that? Came up here more. Play a note. That's fine. Drop your hands from it. Did you feel that? That's going to be very virgin territory, kind of scary. You have no
What
control.
is the territory?
Excuse me?
What did you say? Very what?
Virgin territory, meaning new territory.
Ah, okay.
Also kind of scary because you can't control anything. So now we refer you again to this passage, and I don't know if you were here when I read a passage from Gary Burton's biography. Any of you were here? Were you here? He talks about a moment, he's still very young and he's playing some club. All of a sudden, he said, a moment, his hands were just playing and he wasn't doing it. And he thought it was very scary and he didn't know what to make of it, whether it was just a, unusual occurrence. But he also noticed that he was playing better. So then he thought he really wanted to explore this. And he said he did. What he calls it is unconscious playing. Just a term. Meaning, at some point, what he was doing was just coming from the hands, not the mind. He recognized it was a turning point in his playing. It's a very important passage, and otherwise every musician's biography is boring, let's face it, to read. It was probably much more interesting to live than to read about. And it's a very interesting passage, because that is effortless mastery. And Gary Burton is undoubtedly one of the great masters of the world. Still today. I mean, he's got shit, shit that nobody can touch even generations later. Understandings of rhythm and linear stuff, but it's embedded, it's muscle memory. It just takes over. And he describes the first moment it happened. So that's what we're doing. We're setting up the master player in you. And then, aside from your other studies, it's almost a process of learning to walk again. You're not going to stop everything else, but at least you leave some moments in your day where you learn to touch the instrument from there, and then maybe we start to learn to do a few things from there. So let's do the first step again. Go back to the breath. And the tricky thing for you here is, okay, I'm totally with the breath. I don't own my arms at all. How do they get them to move? Right? If you were really honest, you can't move your arms at all. So I had to contemplate this. If I said to you, imagine they're moving by themselves. If I said that to a child, the arms would immediately be moving by themselves. But an adult questions things. So if I said, imagine they're moving by themselves, you would say, hey, but it doesn't really feel like they're moving by themselves. So I came up with this. When I say so, I want you to pretend that the arms are like robots. Even if you think you move them, you pretend they move by themselves. And eventually, it will be like that. When I move my arms to play, I actually go in here automatically. It's a program. Okay, so go back to the breath. And when I say so, I want you to pretend that the arms are alive in some kind of a science fiction flick, and they decided to touch the guitar. Okay, let the arms move. pretend it's not you. Good, you stayed right there, feel it? Beautiful. Play a note. And you stayed there. Pick another note. I like even picking it, finding the note, making sure you're in the space, not playing the note. Not quite as much, right? So just go back to your breath. Pick another note. It's just unfamiliar. The first thing you'll want to do is control it again. If you do it right once, you'll want to do it right a second time. The wanting to do it right the second time is what ruins it. Drop your hands. Interesting, huh? Okay. Follow your breath. Drop your hands often when you do this. So everybody forgets to do it. If you're doing it with your voice, walk away. Take a walk down the hall. Come back. Come back to it new. If you don't think you need to, do it anyway, because you probably do need to, but you didn't notice it. All right? Beautiful. From that space. The robots are moving. They're touching the guitar. You can keep just practicing that when you're at home. Now breathe. Now I want you, while you look at me, try to imagine the very top of your hair plus 1 inch higher. See if you can imagine it. Play a note. But keep focusing on it. And you see, drop it. You've lost it. You know why you lost it? Here's when if you want to try it with breathing, you cheated. Okay, he did this. In other words, you use the breath to try to get the hand to play a note. If you want to find out how you can separate yourself, do it in the middle of a breath, like this, watch. You see how I did it in the middle of a breath? We're going to do this right now. Put your hands up to play. Just let them go. Just pretend they're there, right? Now breathe. Inhale. When I say play, play. Exhale. Inhale. Play. Yeah. You see, when you're, now if you had stopped inhaling, you might have done this. You might have gone, but you didn't. You did this. If you're inhaling and your hand's going down, you cannot control it. So it's another effective way. And drop your hands when you're not actually doing it. See, we're just in the seed of learning to let the hands play without the control of the mind. There are muscle reasons for that. There are psychological reasons for that. And there are artistic reasons for that. You know,
Which is the same as psychological, isn't it?
Well, you could be. I don't know. I have to think of that one over. I think what people say very seriously, so you have to give it 5 minutes to think about that. But let's say it is.